So when you think about the types of details we create, and even the types of details that you're going to be putting on your first few assignments, it's often things like floor plans, and it's helpful for the floor plans to actually start thinking about putting annotations that show the dimensions and some annotations that explain what we're looking at. Elevations are often a good thing to explain the building, but I even want to caution you here, for these early things, the temptation is to say that since you have a model and you can create views very, very easily, then I'm going to put 100 different views of the building on the plans, but you really don't want to do that. If you put too much information on the sheets, what happens is you actually sort of distract from your story. So it's really better to think about the 1 or 2 views that really explain your design vision the most strongly and place those on the sheets and really leave some of the rest of it to people's imagination. We'll get into the detail more later, but I think that to start with, it's almost better to think about editing and including less than it is including everything, at least for these early design decisions. Because if you're trying to get people to understand whether they like your floor plan, showing them the construction details may actually distract and get you confused from making the decisions you need to make to get to the next stage of the design. So 3D views, we'll talk about schedules that sort of provide answers for key quantities and answers. These are all examples of types of views we use, but the key is to think about really the emotional journey you're taking people on and really what kind of decision you want to empower them to make. So often less is more. Okay, as we go through and look at any view of the model, there's a couple things that are actually very common that we do to them to really make them more understandable. And one thing we often do is we adjust the camera position and really adjust the range of what's being shown so that we only include the information that's relevant to the view. So we're going to show you how to do that in a number of different types of views. Just adjust the camera and really make sure that we're showing the right depth of the information. We're going to talk about how you can filter the information so you're not showing everything, you're only showing things that are most relevant to the issues people want to decide. How you add annotations like dimensions and tags. And finally, how we can enhance those views to make them sort of appear a little bit better. But to do this, it's probably easier just to kind of start showing you than it is talk about it in the abstract sense. So I'm going to open up a Revit model and just kind of show you the general principles and how we apply them. So we'll start with the notion of plan views and some of the things we can do and talk about really how we can take a single view and duplicate it to actually create a number of different views so we can have views that meet each of our different purposes. And to do that, I'll pop over to Revit, and I'm actually going to open up a project that I borrowed from one of the students in class today. So Hung, who's in one of our morning class, actually just lent me his model. And I'd borrow one of yours, but I'm not there to grab it. So let me show you what his model looks like, and we'll talk about how we can enhance it a little bit. So here's the 3D view of the model. Actually, let me even stretch that out. This is what a lot of your buildings probably look like. And in terms of looking at it, this default 3D view is kind of a good place to start. Okay. We also have a floor plan view. Let me open that up. Okay, and you'll see that on this floor plan view, there's actually a lot of information in here. So do we have a question or? Okay.
It's fine.
Oh, no worries. Actually, it may take a little bit for the application to catch up to me sometimes. So holler at me when that happens, and I'll slow down a little bit so we can see that. Okay, so he has this floor plan view, and it's not looking too bad. We can actually think about changing and adding things to this view, and let me talk about why we might want to do that. So in this view, you'll see there's the furniture, we have the desks, the chairs, we have the bathroom back over here. Hung actually added a nice thing. He actually added a little annotation right here, a circle, just to indicate the 5-foot diameter where the wheelchair might need to turn around in the ADA compliant bathroom. Okay, so it's showing the texture on the floor, but it's not really showing necessarily everything we want. We might want to put some dimensions on here to show the sizes. We might put some tags on here to kind of show what the doors and windows are and how they relate to the schedule. But let's just focus on the plan view first. So what I want to first reinforce about the plan view is that we have these different plan views for the first floor and the roof plan. We have those because there's always one plan view for each of the views, for the roof level, And for the first floor level, we have a plan view set up for those. Now, what happens very quickly is we often start having so much information that you really don't want to show it all on a single plan. So we might want to have one plan view where we show the dimensions of the walls that is really going to be used by the framer who's going to be doing that, or maybe the construction estimator who wants to see those things. We might have a different plan view which sort of highlights the furniture and really makes that very obvious so the person who's ordering the furniture makes sure they don't miss anything. Maybe even a third plan view which just highlights the plumbing elements. Okay? So what we can do is actually create different plan views and go through and annotate them and change the way things appear to highlight what's going to be most useful to us. So here's how we do that. Over here in the project browser, you'll see there's actually this first floor plan. Okay, it's listed there right now. Let's think of that as the working view. That's the working plan that I'll keep on adding things to. All the model objects will show up in there. That's kind of one that I'll just keep on changing and fussing with and just kind of adapting as I need. But if I want to go through and create another view, for example, I want to create one that highlights the furniture, I can right-click on it and choose Duplicate the View. And you'll see there's a couple choices there. I can duplicate either just the model objects. If I choose that first choice, that's just the model objects. If I choose the second choice, that'll actually duplicate the detailing. That means if there's any dimensions or annotations, include them too. So let me just try duplicating it first, since there's no annotations on this one. Show you that it actually creates something incredibly similar. It's just a copy of the first floor view. Let me give it a different name. Since I'm going to use it for a purpose, let me go ahead and call this, I'm going to call this my furniture plan.
And there's a big tag.
No worries, okay. Let me know when you sort of catch up. Oh, that's not good. We might have to share our screen again. I'm even going to hang up this other call so that we're not losing any bandwidth for that. Hang on just a second here. I'm going to try closing something on this end. Okay, is it still frozen or did it start or is it Can you see something that says furniture plan?
Rename the view.
Okay, very good. That's where we want to be. So I've just given it a new name, like furniture plan. Okay, and what I can do then is just say okay. And what'll happen now is we have two views over in the browser, the first floor as well as the furniture plan. Now the cool thing about these two views is they're actually related in that any of the model objects that show up in one view can show up in the other view, but any changes we make will affect the other view. So for example, I'm in the furniture plan. Let me come over to this little sink that's in the bathroom. You see it's here in this view. If I go to the first floor view, you'll see it's in the same location. Because really, there is a single object. It is in that location in the model. Okay, so sorry for the big technical disruption. We got a lot of debugging to do in terms of trying to figure out how to make this work better. But in terms of, let's get going with where we are in the lesson, there's this notion of really having several different plans. We have a first floor plan. We also have a furniture plan. The important thing is that any model objects that are showing up are actually available in both those different plan views, because model objects, they're consistent across all the different views. They really are in a single place in the model. So where we were going was where I was going to show you that for the sink, which is located in the bathroom area, it's currently located over towards the left-hand side of the room. If I move it over, and I move it over to the right-hand side of the room, closer to the toilet, you'll see that it's moved here in the furniture plan view, or the floor plan view, but it's also moved in the furniture plan view. So the important thing about all these different views we're going to be creating is to understand that the model objects are the same. Any changes we make, for example, for this doorway that's going into the bathroom, if I swing it the opposite direction, okay, I'm not just changing it here, I'm changing it in all the different views, because really the physical object only has a single direction to it. Okay, so how is that in terms of the screen catching up? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. So where we want to start thinking about where this gets interesting is really how we can change these views. So for example, if we wanted to create a view that really focused on the furniture details, I might go ahead on the furniture plan and actually choose to turn off or turn on different things. And let me show you how you do that. Okay, for filtering the view, there's a number of different ways we can do it. All these different objects, for example, the desks, are actually they're a type of object. They belong to a category. So example, this desk belongs to the furniture category. The sink belongs to a category called plumbing fixtures. The toilet belongs to a category called plumbing fixtures. This canner over here belongs to a category called casework. So every model object belongs to a certain category. If you're familiar with AutoCAD, you can think of those as very much like layers that have been dedicated to some specific types of objects. And if we want to turn things on or off, what we can do is actually choose to do something called just adjusting the visibility graphics. And there's a number of ways you can get to that. So in the floor plan view, there's actually a button here in the Properties palette, which is called Visibility Graphics, and you can choose it there. Or if you prefer, you can come up to the View tab and choose the Visibility Graphics command there. There's also a keyboard shortcut, and you'll find me using that an awful lot. So I'll say VG, Visibility Graphics, or it turns out it also works with VV. But that's another quicker way to do it, because we do Visibility Graphics an awful lot. And here's what happens when you open it up. It'll bring up a dialog that lets us basically turn off or turn on different objects based on categories. So for example, if I want to see the furniture, or if I don't want to see the furniture, let's try that. I can scroll down to the category for furniture, click to turn it off, the visibility, and when I apply it, the furniture appears to disappear. Now, this change is only for this one specific view. So in this one view, it's hidden. If I go back to the other view, the first floor plan, it'll still be visible. So these visibility things are really very view specific. But I'm actually going to turn on the furniture because I actually do want to see that in this view. Oh, if I want to, for example, hide the plumbing fixtures, I could do the same sort of thing. I'll scroll down to the plumbing fixture category and turn off the visibility. It'll hide them, or again, I can turn them back on. So as we're working, one thing we can do in our views is just sort of remove things that we don't want to see right now, just by hiding things that would just clutter up the view and ultimately make it confusing. The other side of the equation, though, is that we can actually highlight different things. And let me kind of go back to the slides for a second and kind of talk about that. So we can create new views. We talked about that a little bit. We can create additional views, but what we're talking about now is this whole issue of filtering the views. And the idea is that we can change the appearance of any element, either hiding it or calling it out and really drawing your attention to it. So let's talk about how you can do that. For each of the different types of objects, for example, the plumbing fixture objects, or let me do it to the furniture since I'm going to focus on the furniture plan here. I'll scroll back up and choose the furniture. So in addition to just changing the overall visibility, turning it on and off, we could go ahead and change, for example, the line weight and the line color. So let's show you how you can do that. They'll override that appearance, the line appearance, just in this one view. So the line choices are, we can change the weight of the lines. It goes everywhere, and this is a relative scale from 1, which is sort of a very skinny line, to 3, which is kind of an average thickness. 5 is a standard size that I tend to use for like wall thicknesses. 7 is getting pretty heavy. 9 is getting very thick. 11 is getting ultra thick. Yeah, all the way up to 16. So depending on what you want, you can bring them up quite a bit higher. I'm going to choose to show my furniture outlines in 7, so a heavier line weight. And if I do that, you'll see in the floor plan view, okay, the furniture outlines are much bolder right now. So again, why am I doing this? I'm really just doing this to help people draw their attention to the furniture. If this view is going to be for the furniture ordering person, just really kind of calling out to their attention that these are the items I want them to pay attention to. Similarly over here, I can also change the color. So, if I want the furniture to be brown, I can change that. And when I apply it in the view, it'll show up with that brown color. So a very common thing to do with the different plan views is to just turn on different elements or turn off different elements, just highlight different views. So let's kind of pause there for a second. That's kind of a furniture plan view. Yeah. Similar sort of view I could create is, let's say I wanted to go ahead and really call out the plumbing fixtures to someone. I can, again, same similar process. I'll duplicate it. It'll start out plain because, the furniture plan has all the annotation change or the graphics changes, but the main one didn't. I'm going to rename this. So again, we'll just give it a new name. I right click on that and give it a name. I'll call it the plumbing plan. And in this one, let's think about what we want to do. So I can go to visibility graphics and talk about if I'm really going to put something out there for the plumber to take a look at, the furniture might not be necessary. So I can turn off that furniture. They don't necessarily need to see that. What else could I do? The floor has this very speckled pattern to indicate it's concrete right now. I could turn off the floors. Let me do that for a second. The problem with turning off the floor overall is I don't even see the floor outline. So what's happening is, let me turn it back on, I'm not seeing these landings because I've turned off the entire floor. So I don't even see the outline. If what I really want to do is just get rid of the pattern as opposed to the outline, what I can do is choose floors, and pattern is also one of the choices. Or I can override the pattern and just say, let's not have the floor pattern be visible. Say OK. It'll clean that up a little bit. Now, if I really want to call out your attention to the plumbing fixtures, what I actually do on my drawings is I tend to actually have cold water fixtures in blue, hot water fixtures in red, sanitary lines in like orange. So I have a whole scheme for how I like to color code my drawings. I could go ahead and choose the plumbing fixtures. I'm going to override the line weights. I'm going to give them the heavy line weight now, and maybe I'll call these blue. When I say OK, again, it's really calling those out and drawing your attention to where the plumbing fixtures are, the different sinks and things. Okay, so let's pause there for just a second and take any questions, because this whole idea of visibility graphics and filtering the views, first big important step is going ahead and just kind of filtering them that way. So anyone have questions about that? Let's just kind of stop and see how that feels to people.